Welcome everyone. Let me start saying uh, hello for Boris, Chavin, David. So let's know where you're from. Brasil.
Marcelo,
Oi,
hi.
Marcelo Batalha. Let me speak in Portuguese with you. Hello, oi. Welcome. Philip is from Germany and I'm based in Brazil as well. Okay, let's start. Let me share. Croatia. Okay, Tomislav. Welcome, Tomislav. Iowa. Very good. Welcome, everybody. So let's start. Let me share my screen with you. Please confirm if you can see.
Um,
Can you see my screen?
now, I can see it.
You can see? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So let's start our session. I'm Karina Pastor. I'm product manager for Oracle Apex. I'm based in Brazil. And you can see here my mail. So if you are an Oracle Ace member, feel free to send a message to me if you want to share some tips on best practices, your experience with Oracle Apex community. I will be very happy to talk to you. I have some quick announcements. First of all, let's talk a little bit about this program. You can see a way to know a little more about the program. So access ace.arcon.com and you will see all the benefits. So you just to give you an idea, you can have access to Oracle Cloud account, access to credit to get your certifications, support to travels, exclusive content, a great network. So access the ACE program website and be part of our team, our family. You're very welcome. We have a lot of conferences in the next day. So this week we are going to have in Paraguay Apex Day. Next week we are going to have Apex Day also in Japan, and a lot of conferences in EMEA. To get more information, access the Apex events application and register. So most of them are free. If you are near, you will be very welcome to participate and be with our team. We have a lot of new blogs. So if you want to know more about support images in rich text to editor documents, if you want to know how to get started with Apex, enable moot authentication in your application. So access your blogs. We have this and a lot of more for you. It's free. So it's a good way to be updated about what is going on with Apex. We have other sessions with ACES. First one was with David Richard Dalby, and we had another with Michael Pereira. So if you access the playlist, you will be able to watch our last sessions. Um, and starting with our today's session, we are very happy to receive Philipp Hartenfeller. Welcome, Philip. Philip is, I believe all of you already know Philip. He's an Oracle Pro, and he's product leader at United Codes. He's enthusiastic about full stack web development. And of course, he has a lot of knowledge in Oracle Apex. He's an also active member of Oracle community. You can see Philippine everywhere participating in many conferences, talking special about the topic that he is going to present today. He's going to talk with us about US UX best practices. So welcome, Philip, and remember to share your questions using the Q&A session. Thanks again, Philip, and now is with you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Really nice, yeah, and thanks for the opportunity. Really, I'm really grateful to be here. So today we're going to talk about a bit about user experience, and I have many of slides, so I will just start. You already heard about me, so maybe let's talk a bit about the ACE program. I'm really grateful to be here, but it's also really nice. Like I met so many great people from the community through the dinners. So at conferences, there's oftentimes an ACE dinner where you just can have time to, dine with fellow ACE members or even Oracle employees. I met many people there. I really enjoy the benefit of getting cloud credits, so I can play around with cloud and things like here, having the opportunity to give a presentation. So, as you heard, I work for United Codes. You may have heard of us from Apex Office Print. That's our main product. So we do products and consulting. And I'm currently busy with not building many Apex apps, but building our next products. We do DB Linter with Philipp Hartenfeller, like in VS Code, where you can check your code. And for example, a Google Drive and Apex, but we will share more on that later. So for today, UX, I want to first start with an introduction to the topic, and then I have three categories which I will put emphasis on. First, app structure, style and color, and then data display. And in the end, I have a chapter with just general tips that can't fit into a category. All right, anytime, just use the question answer panel, and I will answer any questions. So I will not start to give an example what good UX is. I will start with bad UX because we all know it. Bad UX is anything that gets in our way of achieving our goal. So for example, if you want to read a newspaper article on your phone, you have experienced something like this here. You just go on the page and there's a big advertisement blocking the way, a pop-up asking you to sign up for a newsletter or just notifications. And that's all just bad user experience because we go to the site to read a newspaper article, but instead we get a blocking UI that just, gets in our way. So that's bad UX. Another example is this one here. It's not from Apex, but it's actually a famous big product. I have forgotten what it was, but I knew it. So, and here what you can see, we can see a pop-up with the sentence, "Are you sure you want to delete this post?" And then this is permanent, no backups, no restores, so really dangerous. And then we can see we have two buttons, yes and no. So yes is green, no is red. So, okay, the permanent action that's really dangerous is green, and the backing off, oh, I changed my mind, is red. This is weird, it's in our head that something is off, and it's, not really understandable. So anything that also makes the user fearful or uncertain, that's also bad user experience. So now a real definition, this is from Wikipedia. User experience is how a user interacts with, and experiences a product, system, or service. It includes a person's perceptions of utility, ease of use, and efficiency. And I guess efficiency is a good thing to keep in mind. We want to make our users efficiently in achieving their goal. So this is unfortunately easier said than done. First off, humans are individuals, so we are all a bit different. Users have different needs. It's hard to measure. So for example, if we know, database, we can benchmark things like performance, and then we just get a nice numeric metric. And if we change something, we can just run the benchmark again and see if we improved something. With UX, it's hard to measure. It's either off or maybe right, but it's not really touchable. And the biggest thing is we have lots of constraints. So for example, time, budget. So oftentimes we just, our time is valued and we don't have infinite time to think about UX or something. Also, Apex is a framework, so it's really opinionated about stuff. So we can't change everything in a nice way. So for example, regions just look how regions look, and to mingle with that, it's sometimes difficult. And of course, design skills. So first step for you is to understand your audience. So the thing you need to do is get a core understanding of your users, to what they want to achieve. Then you can optimize for their needs, because if you don't know their needs, you don't know what to optimize for. And users are different. So for example, one thing that you need to research is like the demographics of your users. For example, age range. And some older generations are not as tech savvy as younger ones. And I've even read that even the most youngest generation now, they can't really do well with the computer as well, because they grew up with the phone and do everything on a phone. And for example, they can't really handle a keyboard well. Cultural backgrounds, like different cultures also have different tendencies, etc. Education level. A big example is in Germany, government websites oftentimes have two versions of like description texts. So one in a normal way and one into an easy to understand way, because of course there are people who don't know German as a first mother language and just learning it, and it would be just bad if like an important government text they just can't understand. So they do two versions of the text. So then also important is like device and platform. So do your users actually use phones or desktops? Input devices, touchscreen, mouse, keyboard. A mouse is way more precise, for example. Important one is also internet connection. So if your users actually are not in an office with a wide internet connection, but like on a mobile in a forest in Germany, the chances are big that the internet connection is bad. So you can optimize for better loading times and less things getting actually sent over the wire. And also usage context. How much time do actually users spend in your app? If it's just 5 minutes a day, is it really worth it to optimize UX as much? What tasks do they perform and how critical are the tasks? You can imagine like a person working in an a nuclear field or something, a nuclear reactor, and having to use an application. It's better that he actually can trust his applications than like for a small fun project or app. So to really show what the different needs, etc., are, here are two websites, and I think they have a good user experience. It's New York Times and Lego, and they're completely different, right? So yeah, its UX is just really dependent on the purpose of the app. So what are the differences actually? So New York Times is mostly black and white, where Lego is colorful. Serif fonts in New York Times, they are more serious, and where sans serif fonts can be more playful. So we get a sense of clean and professional for New York Times, where Lego is playful and engaging. And the thing is, the difference really is, you go to New York Times and see, anything I should read. So you have to quickly see what's important to me, where you go to Lego to just have some fun and maybe get some imagination of what sets to buy, like new Lego Harry Potter sets. That sounds cool. Let's check them out. So there is really no golden standard for good UX. You have to really understand your audience to fulfill their needs. So in this talk, I think most of us here in this Zoom room have one baseline. We build Apex apps, and these Apex apps most likely will be used from company employees, so internal apps or something. So in this context, you build apps that people are paid to use, and this is really important to keep in mind. So if you are completely different, you, for example, build Apex apps for cheerful, fun birthday parties, then many tips here may not apply to your case, but I guess this is a great baseline. So keep that in mind, and if there are small deviations, adapt the tips. So one of my most important, I think, issues with big apps is if they don't have a great structure. So why is structure important? Users don't like to get lost. Users like to easily find things. Users don't like to get overwhelmed by too many options. If you just see too many entries, etc., you just think, oh God, I'm overwhelmed and I have to find everything, etc. Predictable navigation patterns. So even if users are in one section of the app, that they can learn how the app feels and you can use it, that even if you go to a separate section, that these patterns are applicable as well. And of course, to make some structure, you need to group your app into logical structures that are just related of features. Think of like a banking app, one section where you like pay or you see your balance, and another section is, for example, like services and support, etc. So I have some do's and don'ts on this slide. So if you see the red don't, that's a bad example. And this one is adding a page to the navigation menu every time. Apex is kind of nudging us to do that. So if you use the create page wizard, you will see an option there that you create a new page, and then you can check add it to the navigation menu. If you do that every time and just the default options, then you will end up with something like this, with just so many options in the navigation menu that you have a scroll bar in there. And this is just overwhelming, and that's users will not actually find what they want. So instead, what you can do is create a structured menu. So you think of, okay, these are the 4 main columns. So this is a screenshot from Apex Project Eye, one of our products, and also big shout out to Jürgen Schuster, who designed this, and many tips I owe to him actually. He does a lot of in the sense of UX and Apex. So also what you can see here, because you need to hover over the categories, it's actually hiding a level of detail. Only if you hover over it, you will see the entries popping up. That's great for a first impression. It's not overwhelming you with options. It's first you choose, oh, do I want to go to insights, quality assurance, etc. And then if you hover over it, you get more options. Also, not every page has to be accessible from the navigation menu. It sometimes makes sense to just, like for rarely used pages that you have to click some levels, think of your settings app on your phone. It's also not that every submenu is immediately accessible from the top level. Okay. I think we have some questions around this topic. Should we answer them live, I guess? I will just see. Okay, Jan Kvitina asked, what is better, horizontal or vertical navigation? And you can't say it depends. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So you can see here, this is like the vertical, I guess, and this is the horizontal, or I switched them. I forgot. For example, it depends on the screen type. For example, like on mobile, the one that scrolls on the side is, I think, not as cool as having this one. But I think the biggest factor is actually how many entries you have. Like with 4, this works really great with having just these there. If you can't really structure them into 4 pillars, then maybe having more is even better. But that's hard to do. All right, the next question, I guess, from Pradosh is the same. So I answered them. Okay, what I also really like to see is these navigation pages. So even if you create like categories in your app, for example, here utilities, you probably yet don't have a page for that navigation entry. So you don't have to put a page against most entries. I'm saying if you have a category, you just should create a page here and then link to the subpages in here. So you can give some descriptions about what this section does, what you can do here, just give some help text and guidance, because it's weird when you have this big thing that looks like a button and you can't click it, in my opinion. So I really like these navigation pages. Also, breadcrumbs, I think that's a bit of a controversial topic. For example, a few days ago, I asked on Twitter and I got some feedback that some customers or some users don't really understand breadcrumbs. I don't know if like there needs to be some teaching in that regard, that you need to maybe teach your users what they are. But I guess in a higher sense, I think it's very useful if you have like deep structures, a nested level of pages, that you can always see where are you, and that you can go back up and how you got there. I think it's like a map, like you don't get lost. It's not taking up much space, but feel free to discuss, for example, in chat. Okay, one big thing I think you can do wrong is not making page parameter obvious. And what is a page parameter? Really easy. For example, if you create a report with a form, you create 2 pages, right? The report links to the form, and you always open the form with the primary key passed. So you open to edit the first employee or the second, etc. And then you have a parameter, right? It's the employee ID, for example. Same story here in Apex Project I. We have some dashboards on workspaces, on Apex workspaces. So you just open this page, always as a parameter of which workspace you want to see the dashboard. And then you have to make it obvious. For example, here it's in the breadcrumb saying this is workspace pip and this is workspace AOP, because the data shown here is highly relevant to that parameter. And for example, you just open a dashboard, you get a call, somebody asks if you had a coffee, you come back to your PC, you may have forgot what you've opened, but you see some data and then you need to really see, oh yeah, I opened this one, because if you just guess and then guess wrong, it's bad just to see some data that doesn't fit actually to your understanding. Okay, now a quick live thing. I don't know how this works, but what do these pages have in common? So really big pages: Google, Wikipedia, Amazon, and YouTube. And I really picked just a few because all big sites do this. It's probably a bit delayed, so I'm not going to wait for your answer, but I hope you have guessed search. So all these pages actually offer a big search on the top of the page. So I can see somebody said faceted search on this thing. I think it's mostly right, but I disagree on the faceted part. I think global search is the most important here. So most navigation and structure, you can do as much as you want. Most users will like a way to just search around your app. You just want to click through an actual navigation menu. If you know where you want to go, you can just type it in, press enter, and be there. But unfortunately, it's not really easy to do with Apex. We have this search configurations feature where you can add sources to it, and then you can create a search page on that. That's already great, but it's a separate page. And I'm saying here, all the big companies, what they do is add a search bar to the top. You can access it from all other pages and quickly use it. So having to go to a separate page is just also more friction, and I don't like it. So what you can do instead, I actually have a blog post on that. If you search Google Apex Global Search, you will find it. You can add an input in there, and if you click enter, you will actually be navigated to the search page and the parameter will be passed. That's possible. Or actually, because I don't dislike it so much, I built a plugin that's displayed here. But sorry, it's a paid plugin from our plugins department. So search, I think it's most important, and don't just add data records. So for example, if you have an employee app, you should be able to search each employee and immediately go to the employee page, but also add the navigation menu to the search. So for example, if you want to have a separate page for giving a raise or promoting somebody, then if you type promote, you should be able to find the page where you can do that. Okay. Let me see the questions. Jose asked, is there a good approach to use search item for locate page access? I guess that's just how I just said it. Use add a global search. Again, my blog post, you just Google for Apex global search. Okay. If a parameter is already part of a form field, do you still suggest to have it on the title as well? The thing is, again, this is now where Apex gets in the way, because it's complicated as a developer to add it to there. I would say we developers, we have this database in mind. We know the table. We know this is a primary key. But any user who just starts using your app, he doesn't have the mental model of the data model in a sense. He just gets to see the front end. So if it's obvious, so if you say edit employee and you can see the name there, I guess people will understand what they're seeing. But if it's some complicated different layer of a form where it's not maybe obvious, just add it additionally, and this will also make it immediately clear. Okay. And sorry, another question. What about using the new AI capabilities in Apex to perform global search? I think the first step is just to make the data, meaning if you have an employee app, or you can search for all the employees and immediately land on their page, and adding like the navigation menu, then you don't need AI for that. If you, for example, have a super complex insurance app where you want to cluster them by, and you have like many of PDF documents who are not really have great metadata, so you can't connect them easily, then maybe you can add AI vector search or just full text search. But I guess this global application search is just mostly for navigating around inside the app and not doing deep analytics work. Okay. Next topic, style and color. And this is maybe a bit controversial, or at least I say something we all have done wrong one time. And I'm saying just be boring. So again, we're building apps where people are paid to have to use the apps to get their job done. They come to the app because they have to use it. They don't come to the app because they are so liking to use the app. You can make it that they like to use the app, but again, it's not like an art contest or something. What matters is the content. You have like analysts or some people just enter some data, and what's important for them is the content. It's the data itself. So that should strike out. So the app is not your canvas. Don't get creative with crazy colors, etc. Just make it boring and blank. I like to compare it to an art gallery, like you see here. The art gallery most of the time just looks super boring. If you just remove the pictures, it's just the white room, boring, because it features the art, and we have to feature the data. Also, yeah, look at my slides, how I do them. It's about what I write here. It's not about how the slides look. They should be boring. And also the pages I showed you before, like here, YouTube. Oh my God, it's just white. It's the content. It's the images, thumbnails that scream at us. Amazon is a bit of a special one, actually, because it's definitely more colorful than other sites with the dark banner. But also, yeah, most focus here lies on the sale, Easter sale. Screenshot is a bit old, and the images of the products. Wikipedia, great. It's just so boring, right? It's black text, a bit of blue text for links, a picture. But because we go there to read there, we don't go there to evaluate their crazy cool design and fancy animations. No, we don't want that. We want to read a text. And also Google, I mean, it's even over the years, it's the site that probably changed the least. Blue links for results, our search bar, boom, that's it. Also, like, this style is not a thing of like preference. It's timeless, actually. It's not like it won't get out of style. This is New York Times from 1918, so over 100 years old. A bit the fonts changed, or the spacings, the margins, I guess. But at all, it's still, if you put a new New York Times next to it, you can see it's the same newspaper, right? It's not that they reinvented themselves and have new crazy concepts. It's just text, right? It's just text. Another example, Apex World. This is an Apex app where I think it's doing great. Again, it's from Jürgen Schuster designed, so credits to him. And same principles as Wikipedia. So you have great, white, grays, blacks for text, and links are blue. And then the content is that's colorful and speaking to you. Okay, so I'm saying this is a sin. Coloring buttons that I want to see like a lot of times is that you have multiple buttons on the same page and then you add different colors to them. I say this is bad because adding different colors to them, you want to highlight them that these are different buttons that do different actions, right? But it's perfectly visible. You add text to them. The text describes what the buttons are doing, not the color. So they're already distinguishable by just the text. And also, if you squint your eyes at this slide, you will only see the buttons. So it's actually the data is disappearing. It's just the buttons. That's the focus on this page. They grab all the attention. So I'm not saying that you can't use any colors, but actually it's reserved colors reserved for the primary action. So that's what you typically see. For example, if you create a form page, the save or create button is blue, because if you go to a create new page, of course you want to click create to save the record. So it's guiding you to eventually click that button. There can never be two primary actions, always one distinct. And if you think there are multiple ones, then actually you don't have any primary button. So it's perfectly fine if you have some page where there are multiple things people might want to do. Just don't add any primary button. Just keep them blank and white. Okay, moving on. This is it in action. And I see a question that's relevant here from Pradush. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Will bit disagree on button color, as users sometimes visually interpret as delete usually is red, cancel no, etc. Success is green. And this is actually my next point. I skipped them. I skipped the slide, sorry. Colors actually have a meaning. So the blue is for the hot ones, and this is the CSS colors, CSS classes for the colors we have. So it's not you green text, it's you success text, you warning text, and you danger text. So the colors actually have meaning to them. Green is actually that it's a success, something worked. Red is warning, take a look, and red is really, oh, danger, are we really sure? And then it is okay, as Pradosh said, to use red as a danger color. Do you really want to delete this button? It's dangerous. Remember my first slide with the issue where actually the color was switched, where actually only the yes should be red. If there is a button that can do harmful, then it's perfectly fine to do it red. But only in these cases, because if you do it otherwise, then people will just see that you use red a lot of times, and then it actually, you devalue that color. Then if most things are red, then you can't use red anymore as a highlight of bad things or dangerous things. So yeah, I skipped the slide actually. So this is an action. So yeah, created successfully. That's also the pop-up message on the top right. Green, perfect, worked. Alert. And this is an example of this typical delete action warning. And also importantly, probably have seen the Vita Red theme in Apex, in Universal theme. I think that's bad user experience because it uses red hot buttons. And then we actually do devalue the red thing. When every hot button is just red, you can't use a warning button anymore in the app. So here's an example. YouTube has a red branding color, but you don't have to use red as your hot button. You can just use black. It will also do its job of standing out, screaming at you, but then you can still use red as a warning color. Okay, now next topic is data display. So again, we developers, we think in tables. We love tables, right? We create tables, we query tables. Everything we do, we think in tables. This is dangerous. First, a table is for structured and analytical data display. So we do it mostly, it's really just usable for big screens because you need a wide space to really go through column. So it's good for analytical purposes, and for this purpose, interactive report is perfect. You can sort, you can filter, you can save reports, make highlights, etc. So you really give power to the user. And also I saw that Interactive Report will get a cool new feature where you can even filter by natural language, and then it translated in the background with AI. So yeah, if you really need to use tables, use Interactive Reports is my recommendation. Always there are exceptions, classic reports for small tables or Interactive Grid for editable. But yeah, that's my recommendation. But tables have issues. Okay, sorry, this is a big amount of text, but I think it's really worth it to understand it. It's from Adam Withan and Steve Shoger, and they wrote the book Refactoring UI. But more importantly, you may have heard of Tailwind CSS. That's the most famous currently CSS framework, and they created it. And in this book, they say this: visual hierarchy refers to how important the elements in an interface appear in relation to one another. And it's the most effective tool you have to making something feel designed. So feel designed, that's what we want to aim for, right? and visual hierarchy, meaning that some elements are more important than others actually. When everything in an interface is competing for attention, it feels noisy and chaotic, like one big wall of content where it's not clear what actually matters. So that's what we don't want. And that's basically a table. A table doesn't really give hierarchy to the data. It's just column, 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 column. You can maybe make something bold, but it's so structured that actually, yeah, you just get lost in the columns if you look at it for the first time. If you know your tables, then it's fine. But yeah, you will see actually when I show you the good examples. So here, what is the answer to that? And here's a screenshot from the Apex Ideas app. And this is a template component. So if you go to the Ideas app, you want to see which are the currently ideas people have, how do they want to improve Apex. And then the most important thing is, of course, the title. So the title is giving the most emphasis here by giving it a blue color, a link color, and making it big and bold. So we can easily scan. We don't have to first find where's the column for title. We can just looking at it, you immediately see, oh yeah, it's this is the most important thing I want to read. And then if we scan over them, we can see, okay, this one sounds interesting. Then you can see, okay, status is there, no comments, how many likes. So you just naturally, your eyes will gaze over it and without having to really work for analyzing this. Also, these views, these lists are responsive. So on mobile, you can make them break or look differently. And so you can also optimize for mobile here. All right, so I guess there are a lot of questions, sorry. Jan asked, so you mentioned Vita. So I just said Vita Red. The normal Vita I have no issue at all with. What's wrong with Redwood and why it is OT used more? I'm sorry, I don't understand what I mean, but I think there's not anything wrong with Redwood, but I think it's Oracle's design. It's nothing wrong with it, but it's like cloning how Google looks or cloning how Amazon looks. It's just it has many opinionated or bold styles with the fonts and the spacings, etc. If you like it and you have just an internal app, but if you have already a corporate identity, I guess you don't want to just take another company's corporate identity. So what if you have a number of things that are equally important? You can make them both in the same line. It's not just that you have one thing, it's just that you should really, while developing, think of a hierarchy, what is the most important, and then present them in a way where the unimportant ones are really, kind of going away so that you really have to look for them where the most important one just strike at you. I think that the second sentence perfectly describes the Apex page designer and property series. Oh yeah, the page designer is a great example of, I think, good UX because so much is hidden by right clicks and you have a structure and I use it a lot, of course, every day, and I can't give things about, I would have these things better. Maybe one thing, maybe instead of select list, pop-up LOVs where you can filter or something. Okay, there's another one. Is there any ready-made CSS template and we can use it or customize it even as baseline for our Apex applications? There are already many great template components called theme components that are part of every app. And they are really great. You can just even by giving some information, some parts don't even show up. So you can really make them fit your app. And then if you really it's a thing, is it worth the effort? If you just have a small app, it's probably not. But if you're a big company and you sell something, then it can really be worthwhile to invest into it, try a different thing, try designing your own templates, or just look what I do a lot is just look how really designed pages to it and maybe adapt that to my style. But yeah, the theme components that Apex comes with do a really good job of make it easy. Okay, so another thing in this area is really a skill that you want to have is like typography. And typography is just making text look right, meaning that you play around with boldness, with colors, with sizes, and then you can make text do what you want. This is again an example from the Refactoring UI book, and this just looks cool, right? Just looks right. It looks designed. Of course, here's now a primary action because the incentive of the website is that you actually pay money. Keep that in mind that in this sense, maybe it's not the best UX for the users, but it's the most revenue generating experience. Okay, so let me actually, there are a lot of questions. I will if some fit for this one. So what areas of developing a sound user experience forces your team to work around through Apex limitations? Yeah, I do often just maybe change CSS variables. That's a nice way of changing how a universal theme behaves. If that's not possible, you have to write your own CSS code. But the areas of development, I'm not sorry, I'm not sure what you mean with that. Okay. There are a lot of more questions, but some will be answered in a later stage, so I will just keep them back. So next thing is charts in data display. Charts are complicated, unfortunately. I could do a whole session about charts if I wanted. The thing is, charts are not an end to themselves. So they need to really ask a question or answer an important question to have a need for themselves. I mean, a pie chart always looks cool in a dashboard. Dashboards look super cool. But if the end, actually, they don't matter like the charts are there, then it's also not good. And I found this really cool page. It's from Data to Viz. And they have like this decision tree. Data2viz.com, just Google for it, and they have like this tree here. So you can say I have a numeric variable like 1, then these chart types are really great. 2, you can use a box plot, for example, etc. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. These guides are a really good way of make the right decisions in user experience and charts. And also they have really like caveats, and this one is I really like to show because it also opened my eyes. Pie charts, I guess pie charts look cool, right? But they actually have, they don't really fit most of the time. Maybe we make this bigger. So here you can see like 3 pie charts, and they're all a bit different. But please tell me quickly, with just looking at it for a few seconds, okay, what the difference between them? Like, okay, I can see here A is a bit smaller here, but how much really? And the other, which ones are bigger actually? It's super hard, right? We're just bad at guessing angles from a picture. Where you can see this is the same data, just as a bar plot, and you can immediately see the relations, which is the biggest one. How all these, it's a big difference from the pie charts. I guess we can all say that. So keep that in mind. If you have just 2 values in a pie chart, it will work, but most of the time our data query returns dynamic data. So maybe it looks fine today, and tomorrow it will look, it's hard to tell for the people. All right. So I'm running out of time. I'm sorry for keeping you late. But I also have like uncategorized tips. So keyboard shortcuts, that's a feature of the JavaScript APIs that Apex actually give us. So apexactions.add, we can add an action there. And then we can call Apex Actions add shortcut and assign a keyboard shortcut. So if you have really power users in your app, they might want to use that. I guess we all developers love our keyboard shortcuts, copy pasting, etc. If you have power users, also give them power to them. One caveat about this one is like control. On a Mac, I would like control to be mapped to command instead. The API doesn't support this now, but I actually have an idea for that in the Ideas app, and it's on the roadmap. So maybe next release or someday it will be improved. Offer predictable values. And this is, I think, really important. So think of something like us. We at United Codes, we sell our AOP, for example, globally. But because we're like Belgium, we mostly sell to Belgium, Germany, and a neighboring country big. USA is just the biggest market, and then to a lot of other places. So, for example, if we need to add some data, add a new customer or something in a form, instead of just giving like a select list or pop-up LOV and letting the user all the time click one of these three countries in 80% of the cases, add, for example, quick picks. So you can immediately see, oh yeah, Germany, you click there and it's chosen. You don't even have to open the select list. So yeah, quick picks are available for most inputs. I think the new ones don't have it, like select one and select many, but really play around with it. Also, instant tips, really great series. With an episode 50 with Mike Hitchroth, the actual inventor of Apex, he shared a tip where he actually made a super complicated but worth it query where he also like selected the three most likely to be clicked candidates for a developer role here, and then just by sorting it, showed them at the top and even adding the star icon. So just making the life of the user easier if there are some, if you can predict that most the options will be clicked more often. Label styles. So in a release in a few years ago, the default changed from the old labels, this ones, the optional, to the floating ones, the big ones. And the big ones are really great for mobile because it's a bigger click target. On a small screen with a finger, it's nicer to have bigger click targets. But if all your users, for example, just use a computer screen and actually they prefer like dense UIs, I have a nightmare from SAP when I used that a few years ago. They have like really dense forms with so many infos in there. If they prefer that, maybe that's a better way to display inputs for them. So just talk to your users. Icons. Icons are also not an end in themselves. Icons should save time. So you have icons because it actually allows us to skip the text. If we see a save icon, we won't have to read save, we just click it. The thing is, this only works if these are actually known icons. So for example, here feedback, I didn't add any icon because there is no known feedback app. And maybe you can think of, actually a bug in there might make sense and it doesn't make sense. But if like a friend who's not technical, not a developer, opens this, once sees a bug, he thinks, what the hell is this? And then still has to read feedback. So it's just adding more friction to the UI. So it's totally fine to keep icons blank if they don't add anything. Uncertainty causes fear. So we know the apps because we built them. We know everything behind it. We're developers, right? Users don't have this insight. So it's hard for us. We have to think outside the box, think like our users, and make things obvious to them. So give them just consistent and good naming, offer help text, use a language everybody understands, and then add, for example, are you sure dialogues for destructive actions. So people actually trust that the app has their back. So even if they might click on something dangerous, they still have to confirm and they can't break any things if they don't pay attention, for example. Don't overwhelm users, same as structure. So sub-pages, if one page gets too big, or do it in wizards. Different pages for different action, it's fine. Don't overload one page. Also like the example I showed with the 4 buttons next to each other, actually that could have been better if it's just one button and like a menu where you have like sub-menus. You have to click it and then there are sub-menus. Use these, for example, to hide non-obvious actions. Like I have a screenshot for this here, actually. This one just says save, and then I don't even need to make it hot because it's the only button. And then this menu option here, and because these are the ones that people don't use most of the time, they have to click an extra step, but the UI isn't over. And also rarely used information in collapsed region tabs. I saw a question about that already. Yeah, I really like just to add collapsible regions. It's a region template in Apex, and you can even set that it's by default collapsed so that people have to click another time, but in the end, the page is not too overwhelming. Don't frustrate users. So for example, huge form let users save drafts or maybe let them copy an existing record where they know they just need to change 2 fields instead of having to copy paste everything again. Use appropriate session timeout lengths. The default one is 1 hour. I don't understand why. I guess most of us have employees working on their own computer and they probably should log them every time they go away. The 1 hour session timeout is just friction. You go to a break, come back, your session is killed, you have to log in again, you just get frustrated. Validate early, big form, for example, then you added a lot of data. 5 minutes later, you click save, and then you can see the second entry already has an error. That's just, frustrating. Clear error information, meaning mostly you should hide the error messages, the technical error messages. Performance, keep things fast. A thing that can help is lazy loading. So for example, if you have one region that just have a complex query, this page still loads, just the region has a splimmer. That's way better than the whole page taking like 5 seconds to load. Also, move long-running tasks into the background. We have this cool background processing feature since a few Apex releases. And if you have like a process taking 30 seconds or even more, just put it into the background, tell the users it's being taken care of, and you will be notified when it's done, and then do it later. Be in contact with your users. Watch how they use the app, let them give you feedback, and consider evaluating usage metric. Apex 24.2 has this open telemetry API support. I haven't played around with it, but I think you can also like take UX feedback from there. So wrapping up, if you take one thing away from this talk, simple, boring UIs that serve the content to not overwhelm the users. I think that's what I try to dump it down to. Thank you very much. I will now focus on the questions. I see that there are a lot there, but at least the slides are done now. Okay, so what do you think of a hideable section for less important information? Yep, that's what I said with collapsible regions. I really like that. I think that Apex standard buttons have very little contrast and they are almost invisible. I think a more contrast version of that might be good. Yeah, you could, for example, improve like the border colors or add more shadows to them. But I think not every button has to really scream at you, because you mostly first you look for an action. I want to can I copy this record? And then you look and the buttons are always in the same place, and then you read the text there and then you know, yeah, it's a button. Wouldn't the mobile design will have labels on the top, like Gmail login, instead of label at the left? So what I showed here before is actually the desktop, the thing where I said these optional labels, these are for desktop, and the floating ones, which are also like for Apex login masks, the default, they are for mobile. So this is not the mobile one. This is the desktop one. And then you can choose the optional one here. The default one is on the left side and optional above. Then the label is just on top, but the field is exactly the same size. Okay. What do you recommend for view audit data? I don't get the question. Okay, there is a new glass UI design. Do you think we can achieve that in Apex? Sure, there are people already achieving that. It's just CSS, right? But the thing is, if you really want to do it, because my impression from the Apple liquid glass is it just looks fancy, but is it really having a purpose? That's the thing with aim for boring, because your users have to use your apps. If you have a fancy landing page with Apex, fine, do that. But if you have backend users that have to use your app, they don't care about a fancy UI. They just want to get their job done in an efficient way. How can we validate a huge form early? That's a good and unfortunately hard to answer question, because you could, for example, split it up in wizards. So you have actually multiple steps, and then for each step you just submit and get the validations done. But the main issue is that the validations happen on a server side. So you could manually add JavaScript validations. That's possible, but it's a lot of work. So it's not really user or developer friendly to implement this, but this would be the optimal way, I guess. Can we get a recording of this? Yep, it will be shared after the session sometime. Is it good to structure the layout using tools like Figma or Canva? Sure, if you really like that tool and know your way around it, it could make sense. But in my opinion, for example, I think Apex is really great also at prototyping because it's low code, right? You just drag and drop areas in there, drag and drop regions in there, and you already have a result. And then you don't have to really fine tune like Figma. It will always look a bit different because it's, I guess, not following the same styles as Apex. I am developing an app that leverages parent-child interactive grids. What are your thoughts on IGs to enter edit data? Yeah, I think IG is quite fine if people understand it. It has this thing where you first need to be in edit mode and you can't copy paste values easily. I think there will be improvements from that side. But for example, we actually also have a plugin that offers a more Excel-like grid. So depends on your users if they're used to it, or many actually complain that it's not like Excel. Okay, Karina, so I guess I've now here for an hour. There are always more questions popping up. Do we still have time to answer them, or?
Yeah, feel free. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Let's use this time.
So pie chart for Boolean kind of data, yes, no. Yeah, I agree with that. That's easily to see. But I'm also saying a bar chart is probably not right as well. A pie chart might look fancier. Are we supposed to audit end users about their use of the Apex app? You're not supposed to. I think it just can give you better way of understanding what your users actually need. So oftentimes there's a clash between how a developer think the app is used and how the actual people who do the job with the app use the app. So they have their own tricks, etc. And then it's a different the understanding of developers wrong, and then he can't optimize like for their needs. So my general understanding is at least talk to the users or let them give you feedback. But most of the time you want to have a real talk because often also they don't know what they really want. They ask for a faster horse, but you can build a car, right? So be in contact with the users. Can Bootstrap be integrated into Apex? Yeah, you can just load it, but I don't think it makes sense because Bootstrap is also just CSS with an opinionated kind of styles. So the question is, why do you want to use Bootstrap, or can't you do this already with Apex? For example, Apex already has the 12-column grid to make it responsive, and Apex has its own kind of style. So maybe look into the CSS variables. You can change a lot of things in the universal theme with just changing CSS variables. And that's why also you're doing it in a correct and supported way. Is it possible to structure data in matrix layout with edit options? I'm not understanding what you mean with matrix layout, like interactive grid, for example, maybe. Cross tab. Sorry, I haven't heard of cross tab also. Like, I need maybe to see an image or something. Sorry, can't answer that now. I talk. Okay. Do you have reference for UI for Oracle Fusion Redwood theme? Currently, Apex is not that aligned to Oracle Fusion, but the use cases are growing very fast, and we are not able to make it like Oracle Fusion Cloud. That's a good question, actually. But I'm the wrong person because Tim Campbell, he's the architect of the universal theme currently. I guess that's a perfect question for him. I'm also just an end user of Apex. I don't develop the universal theme, but this sounds like a very good need actually to make, because I heard that there are, like, for Fusion apps, you can now embed Apex apps, right? And then it should look the same or not too different. I always have to do media queries for different screens to achieve responsiveness. So for this, actually, there are many universal theme classes. So if we go to apex.oracle.com/ut for universal theme, you can see that Apex already has things taken care of. So for example, here it's responsive classes. And then you can see that's the default column thing, the default thing. But we have, for example, classes like call XSS 12 or something. And by that, you can really fine tune how it looks. For example, you can hide things conditionally. So if I would like resize this, like it breaks differently. And yeah, you can maybe play around with these. And in the end, you don't have to, I think, use Bootstrap, but you can also just use these as classes or styles rules that also do the job. Can we get all the Redwood design, critical components design in Apex? So the Apex comes with a Redwood theme. I guess like some special components that are not native Apex components yet. I heard actually that they do a lot of with template components. But unfortunately, I think they have not shared all the template components they built for themselves. Okay, Neil. Pivot table. Maybe like, I know that Interactive Grid, Interactive Report has a pivot functionality. Maybe this is already what you want, because you can, the users can use it or set that themselves, or as a developer, you can actually give different views on that report. You can save like reports for the users, and then they can switch around with these. Maybe this is enough, but yeah. Okay. I think I answered most of the questions. I have many thanks for the sessions, etc. And comments. Sorry if I missed some, but the screen is full. And I think I answered most questions, or all of the questions.
Okay, thank you. And we had here a comment, suggestion from Radosh, for you give another session in the future talking about another topic. So why not? Well, thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this session is being recorded, and soon will be available to you on Apex YouTube channel. So thanks everyone, and thanks Philip again. A great session, and see you in the next.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
And also for the people who joined, thank you.
Thank you, bye.